BingX, a trusted global crypto exchange. Trade spot, futures, or copy top traders easily. Sign up via the link or referral code to get 30 USDT instantly, plus up to 1,500 USDT in bonuses for verification, deposit, and trading.
A rare wave of jubilation swept across both Israeli and Palestinian communities on Monday as a significant prisoner exchange deal brought a glimmer of hope for a lasting peace. Hamas released the final 20 living hostages held in Gaza, in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinian detainees, in a development that coincided with a high-level summit in Egypt aimed at solidifying the fragile truce into a durable peace. At the summit, former President Donald Trump, flanked by world leaders, declared, "The prayers of millions have finally been answered. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East," while Egyptian President Abdel al-Sisi called for the Gaza ceasefire to herald a new dawn for the region, stating, "Let the Gaza war be the last of wars in the region," amidst prevailing anxieties about the ceasefire's longevity. In Tel Aviv, an estimated 65,000 Israelis converged on Hostages Square, erupting in cheers as a military helicopter carrying the 20 freed Israelis flew overhead en route to a nearby hospital. Live broadcasts of their emotional reunions with families were displayed on large screens throughout the square, a poignant moment for a nation that had mobilized relentlessly since the devastating Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, which saw 250 Israelis abducted and 1,200 lives lost, igniting the current conflict. The army confirmed that the bodies of 4 hostages, who had been in Hamas custody in Gaza and handed over to the Red Cross, were also returned to Israel. Meanwhile, a large crowd gathered in the southern Gazan city of Khan Yunis to celebrate the return of approximately 1,700 Palestinians detained during the conflict. In Ramallah, the capital of the West Bank, similar scenes of welcome unfolded as 88 Palestinian detainees, many serving life sentences imposed by Israeli courts, arrived. At least one of these individuals had been imprisoned for 24 years, with an additional 160 individuals deported through Egypt following their release. The Public Committee Against Torture in Israel highlighted that the majority of these Palestinian detainees had been held without trial under the designation of unlawful combatants, noting the presence of 22 minors among those freed, a fraction of the 360 Palestinian minors previously held in Israeli custody. The ceasefire appeared to be holding in Gaza on Monday, following a protracted 2-year Israeli military operation that has resulted in the deaths of nearly 68,000 people. Despite this fragile calm, 2.1 million surviving Palestinians in the Gaza Strip continue to grapple with a profound humanitarian crisis in a sealed coastal enclave where the vast majority of homes lie in ruins or severely damaged, and where humanitarian supplies have been scarce for many months. Tom Fletcher, the head of the UN's Humanitarian Relief Branch, OCHA, confirmed that aid deliveries had begun entering Gaza, with significantly more poised to arrive in the coming days. Speaking from the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, Fletcher emphasized, "Millions of Palestinians counting on life-saving aid getting through at scale. We must make it happen." Former President Trump, who played a pivotal role in brokering the current ceasefire, arrived in the Red Sea resort after a brief visit to Israel. He proclaimed, "A new day is rising," and subsequently signed a joint declaration with the leaders of Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey, a document intended to pave the way for transforming the ceasefire into a comprehensive peace plan. The last Gaza ceasefire collapsed after 2 months in March, leading to a resumption of Israeli military operations. Concerns linger in the region that this current truce may also prove to be precarious, particularly given the opposition from the far-right faction within Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition. Despite these apprehensions, Trump expressed confidence in his 20-point proposal for maintaining peace and rebuilding Gaza, stating, "The document sets out a whole series of rules and regulations and is very comprehensive." However, the precise contents of the declaration signed in Sharm el-Sheikh were not immediately disclosed, and the ambitious objectives outlined in Trump's 20 points, including the disarmament of Hamas and the deployment of a stabilization force overseen by a technocratic Palestinian committee under the guidance of a peace board chaired by the U.S. President, present an exceptionally challenging undertaking. The Summit for Peace drew a notable assembly of Middle Eastern and European political figures, alongside unexpected power brokers in the current era of international diplomacy, such as FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Leaders from at least 27 countries, many from Europe and the Middle East, participated in the summit held in Sharm el-Sheikh. Prominent leaders from major Arab and regional states, including President al-Sisi, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, and the leaders of Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, were in attendance. European representatives from France, Germany, Italy, and Hungary also joined the discussions. Notably absent from the signing ceremony were representatives from Israel or Hamas. A last-minute attempt by former President Trump to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu was thwarted when President Erdoğan indicated he would not permit his plane to land if the Israeli Prime Minister were present. In Sharm el-Sheikh, Trump shared his emotional reaction to videos of Israeli hostages being reunited with their families, remarking, "The level of love and sorrow, I've never seen anything like it. It's amazing. They haven't seen their loved ones in such a long time." He added, "In one sense, it's so horrible that this could take place. In another, it's so beautiful to see a new and beautiful day is rising." Beyond the jubilant crowds in Khan Yunis, the response across Gaza to the mass detainee release was largely subdued, overshadowed by the dire circumstances and pervasive uncertainty regarding the ceasefire's durability. The identities of many released individuals remained unclear, with speculation as to whether they were militants from Hamas or other armed groups, or simply civilians apprehended by Israeli forces. Some returnees were reunited with children born during their captivity, while others returned to find that relatives had perished in the conflict, which has seen a historically high civilian death toll among Palestinians. A UN Human Rights Commission has assessed that Israel's actions in Gaza constitute genocide. Haytham Salem, one of the detainees freed on Monday, discovered upon his release that his wife and children had been killed, leaving him as the sole survivor of his immediate family. Naji al-Jafarawi returned on the same day his brother, Salah, a social media journalist and activist, was being buried. The International Committee of the Red Cross, which facilitated the hostage and detainee transfers, conducted brief interviews with all individuals released on Monday and confirmed the transfer of the remains of 4 deceased hostages to Israeli authorities. Aid workers are now engaged in a race against time to deliver critical humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Reports indicate that, under the terms of the ceasefire agreement, Israel will open 5 crossings into Gaza, including one from Egypt.